What's up, fluff butts? Well, I'm gonna steal that from Fox, but I tell you what, that's just kind of something that he's always said that's make me happy. Though this episode's not gonna be happy, I'm afraid. It's actually gonna be probably pretty sad for some people, but it's something that I feel has needed to be said. Well, sort of. It needs to be known that certain things, certain people react differently. And I just wanted to kind of give you more of a heartfelt response to some of the things that have kind of drawn me, I suppose you could say, into the fandom. Though, in all actuality, they've also pushed me away at the same time. It's really hard for me to actually come to you guys and say this. And I know I'm in a mask, but that's so, well, to be honest, I'm not ready for a face reveal to the fandom yet. It took me a long time to actually come to grips with being probably a furry. This isn't my coming out story or anything, but it was something that had always interested me and always brought me happiness and stuff like that. But at the same time, when I discovered the fandom many, many years ago, I was kind of a different person. I suffered extensively from probably, well, I know it was non diagnosed, but from everything I've learned, it was depression, anxiety. Be honest, I probably had all kinds of suicidal thoughts, even thought about completing it a couple times. But there was always something that made me think about it. You know, the fandom has all these people that there's everyone in any walk of life that could have experienced any of this kind of stuff. And you never actually understand where someone's been, where what someone's been through, what their viewpoints are, without getting to know them. Of course, through animal masks like ours. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. I've suffered from extreme social anxiety. I've been to two conventions and barely talked to anyone because I suffer so strongly from anxiety. Just walking up to someone and saying hi literally makes me want to just run back to my hotel room and hide underneath the covers. Because, you know, online you can figure out who someone's persona is. They post all about it. They give someone the ability to understand the character before they even talk to it. But of course, the person underneath the character doesn't always act like the character. That's probably where a lot of my anxiety, when social anxiety that is, comes from. And it's been a long week, 2 weeks actually, almost a month that I've been thinking about how to actually bring this to you. I I've been to dark places in my life, just so dark that you're looking forward into the next moment of light, just enough to keep you going, just enough to keep yourself from wanting to stop. And that's been hard. Even inside the fandom, you know, you get little glimpses of joy. But since I've joined, it's become kind of a call out culture, to be honest. And sure, you know, there are things that need to change. There are things that need to not happen. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing that you stop calling out people because they do X, Y, or Z. But it's over petty stuff. You know, everyone's always on this emotional edge because everyone's so defensive and they don't want to break out of being just a fandom. The problem with that comes to the next point. If you want more people to enjoy and get excited about the fandom, you have to bring them in. Of course, that would mean getting new people, showing yourself out to the world. That doesn't mean you can be defensive. You have to own up and admit that there are things in the fandom that not everyone agrees with. Not everyone's going to agree with it. Not everyone's going to go against it. Some people like it, some people don't. It's grown increasingly difficult for me to actually want to associate myself with the furry fandom, at least the online part of the furry fandom. Going to conventions has completely shown me a new world of the fandom. There's literally a split between online and convention. They're completely almost two separate worlds. Sure, that might have something to do with my following of people on Twitter or my looking into stuff. But I can't necessarily be active in the actual fandom other than going to 1 or 2 conventions a year, other than being online. Where I live just happens to be the most remote part of the world for furries, it seems like. Not the world, United States at least. I can't go to a fur meet. I can't go to a fur bowl. I can't go to a monthly thing even, because there's just nowhere nearby that I got to do this. This is fun. I love doing this. I'd love to live somewhere more welcoming to something like this. I don't. And that probably just adds to my despise of certain things that the fandom has become. It's also caused me to kind of fall back into my dark place, my deep-seated depression. I came into the fandom becoming active, getting art, going to conventions to bring, hope and light and stuff. But it's starting to be pulled away because just the culture of the fandom has changed. Even in the last 3-4 years, it's sharply changed. Not necessarily in a good way or a bad way, but it's just not the same. And I get that. We're going to change. Everything's going to change. Furries might become mainstream. Everyone's got to realize that. This is going to become mainstream. There is no way to stop it. It's going to happen. And that's a good thing because you're bringing more people out of their dark places, their anxieties, their depressions, and giving them something to look forward to. Giving them something happy to look at. What's cuter than a giant stuffed animal essentially with a person inside coming up and acting cute? Nothing. Or a roo or a fox, a rabbit, whatever animal you are. I don't mean to just specialize species. And that to me has helped and hurt me at the same time. It's just good to know that some things never really change, even though the people change. We're all here for one reason. That's to do this, dress up in an animal costume. You're not here to push agendas if that's what you're thinking the furry fandom's for. You're not here to specifically pick out people, even though you can. You can specifically pick groups that you want to follow. That's part of being a larger community. Everyone has family that they don't necessarily like. Does that mean you just, oh, I'm never going to talk to you again? Okay, if that is you, I think there's something else that you probably should look at. Even though someone disagrees with you, doesn't mean you never talk to them again. You try to understand what their point of view is. Because once you do that, you understand what makes them have those points of views, what makes them happy about certain things, what makes them sad about things, what gives them anxiety about things. And just, it's really hard for me to get past how divisive people have become outside of conventions. I look at stuff that goes down on Twitter. I mean, this is pretty much all I have to really stay in contact with the furry fandom, is to get on Twitter. Do you have something better? Please leave a comment, suggestion, whatever. I'd love to talk to people. And you know what? You don't like me, so be it. That's what you're allowed to do. You're allowed to not like people. You don't have to like everyone. But in something like the fandom, it doesn't matter what their views are. We're here for one thing: costumes, art, stuff like that. That's what we're here for. And it's just gotten so ridiculous that there's got to be this just toxic atmosphere about everything. People going on, people basically getting called out about stuff. Okay, you get called out. Sure, you have people not liking something you're going to do. Sure, there might be people who like what you're doing. It doesn't mean that you just stop it. I come from a background where if you agree to do something, you do it. Period. Granted, that gets me into a lot of problems. That puts me in situations I don't necessarily like being in. I do a lot of work that it seems like doesn't get me much. So be it. You agree to do something, you follow through. Okay? It's that simple. That's how I feel about, this call out culture. If you're going to call someone out, you need to back stuff up. You just don't call someone out because, oh, I don't like you, I'm going to call you out. Okay? You call them out, you give them reasons why you're calling them out, you give them evidence why you're to back up your own claims. If you don't have evidence, you can't call someone out. Period. Okay? Okay. I completely went off topic. I completely forgot where I was. But there's just things that have really gotten out of hand. And it's really gotten sickening to me. Okay. I'm going to try and get back on the topic because that was just a rant and I didn't mean to do it. I'm sorry. If you made it this far, I'm going to try and get back into what the video was supposed to be. But just warn you, it's probably going to be dark. There's a lot of darkness I've had in my short time on this planet. And I know there's people who have had darker things. People who have been in worse places than me. But there's something that, to me, I need to bring out. I don't know necessarily how to bring it out or how to say it, other than it doesn't matter what you've been through. It doesn't matter who has done, horrible things potentially to you. There is always a bright side. There's always something to look forward to. There's always something to not go through with certain things. If you haven't figured it out, I'd really think on this. Probably why it took me nearly a month to get you a second video out. Because I have recently been to the point of depression that I had again started thinking, I'll just be out with it, suicide. But every single time I think about it, I think, what good does it do for me to even consider it? Because all I'm going to do is pass it on to the next person. I'm passing it on to my parents, anyone who is a friend. I'm passing on my depression onto someone else. There's no good in that. There's nothing good about it. Even if you're in the darkest of dark places, think of you just putting your darkness onto someone else who's already carrying their own darkness. You're going to crush that person's light. And that person's going to want to consider it and maybe go through with it. We'll just pass on yours and theirs onto someone else. It's not something to even consider. It doesn't matter how dark it's gotten. There's always a way out. Whether that's putting your nose to the grinding wheel and getting to work on something, whether that's finding new hobbies, whether that's pulling out of certain things, so be it. If you have to change something yourself to get away from it, then do it and get away from it. That's the big problem I see, is that people who actually have the problems that lead up to this never change. They always get into worse problems and the same problem and the same problem until they can't deal with that problem anymore, and they go through with it. And then they pass it on to the next person. It's not something to consider, in my opinion. Leave comments if you have comments on this. I'm trying to get an active comment section because I want people to understand my point of views. That's the whole reason I really want to do the den, is so people can understand my views, get a little insight into this messed up brain. Just a glimpse so that they can get joy, they can get a piece of hope, so that they can keep going. It's not something that I am trained to do. It's not something that I'm good at. I have horrible people skills, but I want to help as many people see a glimmer of hope as possible. And there's tons of other people who do that. But just joy, to me, doesn't last long enough for it to be really useful. I watch a video of all kinds of YouTubers, and I might be happy and inspired and stuff for 2 or 3 days before that darkness starts creeping back in. Just like a slow weight, it pushes that joy away for me. And this last week was the worst. I could feel a physical weight, feeling like he was sitting on me, crushing me beneath it. And I didn't give into it. I'm not going to give into darkness wanting to smother out my light. I want to bring a little insight, a little happiness into someone's life. If that's through me failing at a dance comp, so be it. If that's me saying you can do something, so be it. I don't care if it's minor. I don't care if it's little. I don't care if it's insignificant to the entire scheme of things. It's worth it. If you can change one person's life, that's all that matters to me, is getting one person to have that weight not crushing them out. If that means that I'm an inspiration for a week, that they can go and find someone else who's an inspiration who can keep them going, so be it. I inspired someone to keep going. That's important to me. I plant a little seed that I don't know 20 years from now, they might come and meet me at a convention or something and say, thank you. That's what it's worth. It's worth changing someone for the better. And it's gotten hard for me to consider how I can make someone's life better when mine's so dark. When I have that weight feeling like it's crushing me from behind, both depression, anxiety, whatever your problems are, there is someone willing to listen, someone willing to talk. You may have to look for them. You may have to find them. And you may have to build yourself a wall and just strengthen yourself to hold up against your darkness. That's what I've done many, many times. That's why I struggle with showing emotion to people. I built up wall after wall to hold back my own darkness, my own depressions, my own anxieties, just again and again and again. And I'm so emotionally neutral. No one can get in. I don't want people in. I've had relationships that ended so horribly to me. I can't. I don't want to get that close to someone to have that happen again. I don't let people into my inner circle. Even my closest friends aren't in that inner circle. I've built that wall so close to myself, I don't let anyone into it. I don't want anyone into it because of what has happened. I'm trying to change that, but it's hard. Because when you build that wall, nothing will get through it. Someone might pick little bit by little bit at it. So be it. Let them pick. But if you built your wall metaphorically, metaphoric wall around you, like I have, they might have to chip at that wall for years before they get anywhere near where they can see your inner emotion. Sure, that's different from showing happiness and sadness and chuckling at a joke or smiling at, a conversation or meeting them in passing, but real true emotions to me are locked deep away from people. I don't want to feel that connection anymore. And that really is probably part of my darkness that I carry. I don't like carrying that darkness. But you can't change that. There's no way to change that. Not for me, at least. Not where I am. I wish it was more possible for me to open up to more people, but it's just not. I can't. I physically can't. I don't know how to tear down my walls that I put up. That's my biggest problem. Just before anyone ever really does anything, before you think about things, and believe me, I've thought more than enough times of what's the use? What good is it? What's my purpose? Why should I not end it here? Because you have a value to someone. Someone values you. Even if it doesn't seem like it, someone somewhere values you more than you might know. And that, to me, is enough to keep me going, usually. Again, this last week has been rather tough for me. I felt myself so encompassed by this darkness around me, just this horrible depression, anxiety, lack of value to myself. I didn't see a purpose. I didn't see a purpose in going another hour. But the problem with that is I saw that someone else had value in me. Not that I had personal value, but someone else values me. And that's enough for me to stop and think for a little bit. If one person values me, how many other people might value you? Even if it's just a little bit. Someone somewhere has a value for you. Someone else, someone in the world values you. I'm kind of struggling for words. Just, it's like I said, it's been a hard week for me. That's probably why I'm doing this, just because I want to release some of that. And I know if you made it this far, I'm thankful for you making it this far. I really am. Thank you for listening to my random ramblings, my useless ability to convey information, my horrible speaking skills, and the fact that I have really no clue what I'm doing here. I don't have a reason to do this. I don't have a following. I don't have Twitter followers. I don't want to become a big person. I just want someone to gain something from my random ramblings. Just a little spark of inspiration. If that means one subscriber somewhere, sometime in the future, 10 years down the road, that I changed their life, again, I don't see myself being inspirational to that point. I'm just a person who rambles, who has probably an off opinion about a lot of things that no one really likes. And, well, I leave it at that. Just the fact that I'm not someone who can change someone's life. I don't feel that's my ability. I'm more than happy to work with my two hands and work as hard as I can on something, but I'm not a people person. I struggle with personal skills. I struggle talking to people. Maybe that's why I'm doing it, because I want to better myself in being able to talk with someone. It's gotten me somewhere. I've met a couple people in the fandom, but I've never actually met someone who I can just talk to. Just message out of the blue and talk to them. I haven't made any friends in the fandom, really. I've talked with probably 20 people, tops. 20 people tops at 2 conventions. I've gotten my picture taken a couple times. I'm not a pretty fursuiter. I'm not a sparkle dog. As this character goes on, he might become more interesting. But right now, I'll probably just stick to the shadows and stand in the back of photos and just be me. It's not pleasant. It's not pretty. But I don't feel that in 3 days or 4 days or however long you're at a convention, you can really meet someone who you can talk with at a drop of the hat. It's just not something you can do. I don't feel. Now there are people who probably have done it, have changed their life because of it. And that to me makes, if someone gets something out of it, it's worth it. If that means talking to them a month after the convention, getting one text message or a Twitter message or a Twitter DM or something that they thank you for, it's worth it. Even if you had a horrible time at the convention and someone thanks you for something that you did because you changed something in their life, it's worth it. Of course, that goes probably a lot more into my upbringing, but I just hope that this helps someone somewhere and that it's worth it. If it's not, well, I haven't wasted a whole lot. And don't get me wrong, I have goals, I have aspirations and everything else, but I don't think that's the goal, ironically, of me doing these. Now, if I could make this more than a hobby, it'd be fantastic. Don't get me wrong. But right now, it's a random hobby that whenever I have a few minutes, I sit down and I can make a video that might change someone's life for the better. I suppose it's worth it. This is a lot more rambling, a lot more darkness and a bunch of other stuff that I didn't necessarily think was going to happen. But again, I'm trying to learn these things. I'm not a people person. I'm not a public speaker. I haven't taken classes in this stuff. I haven't taken video design, music design, or anything. But I try. And you know, if that means that my videos are crap, that means they're crap. Hopefully someone will help me with those. I can go to a panel at a convention or something, and they can start understanding what I really need to do to make myself better, though everyone needs to be unique. You can't just copy someone's style. And hopefully that I'll make my own style in time, and everyone who ends up liking it may go on to make their own style. I'm probably going to go off rambling again, so I think that's probably enough for me today. I'll try and work out getting another video next week, maybe the week after. I have to do a lot of thinking on what my next topic's going to be. If you have topics or comments, helpful hints, tips, tricks. You want to have something debated? You want to see me play some games? Leave them in the comments. I'll see what I can do. As for me, I think I'll be signing off for today. This is Beowulf from the Jackals Den, wishing you all to have a good day. And goodbye.